What else do you want? In the last game, most people would argue doesn't really count 4v5. You can't really say YG really won the game per se. In fact, there was some pretty nice high ground defenses from Team Orca, even 4v5, so you got to give them credit for that. YG really needs to get this draft straight, really just be able to understand what they're doing here, even against a stand-in for Team Orca. They're going to go down the Rubik route, which we've been seeing a lot of. I think against the Lion, against the Tide, against the Bane, it's just too much value not to take the Rubik. So they'll go ahead and take it for themselves.
You have a lot of great spells to steal. Every single thing from Lion's kit is pretty good. Tide, Bane, really easy to get the big spells, especially the Bane. Stolen Fiend's Grip is going to turn things around a lot. And we have seen Skele play a pretty mean Rubik, so this is something he's comfy with. I think the one thing that Rubik does do is force maybe a Snapfire 5, unless YG does something really weird, like say offlane snap, which honestly it does work, and it's not going to come out here because we do get the LC, so likely Snap 5. Legion Commander offlane, so you do have a solid duo now with LC and Snap. There's some good cookie plays you can get early on. You can get really aggressive. These two heroes are relatively tanky as well, and they can trade with Bane, although Bane in the first 3 levels is going to feel a lot better with that Brain Snap, but YG are tying in really well. They've got good follow-through for the duels down the line, as they do have the boat, they've got the kisses from a mile away, so they can secure those early wins for the LC and start stacking up from then. But Orca fall back to something that VT Faded has tried and tested before, back to the Deuce. So it's back to the big win condition that can just farm up, play till late game, does a lot of damage, has a lot of ways to itemize into that late game as well. You don't have natural mana burn here from YG, so the shield is going to be a bit of an issue, and I don't see anyone really going for a defusal, so that will always be a consistent issue. You don't have the highest burst damage to deal with Dusa's shield as well. You do have the kisses, which in a prolonged fight will do wonders, but you have to really space yourself out there to not get caught by the Ravage or by that Stone Gaze, which is a solid combination from Orca.
Right. I just wonder whether YG are really going to be able to play fast enough to be able to deal with this Deuce of this game. Like, you look at their draft, and you've certainly got that aggressive potential, but I get a little bit concerned about the fact that they don't have much objective taking here on YG. See what they do choose for their POS 1. And we always talk about that mid-tier 1 and how important it is when you're playing against Medusa. You've got to get rid of that mid-tier 1 tower and just invade that jungle. If you don't, Medusa just farms forever and just becomes a real problem. We actually, surprisingly enough, see the anti-mage ban out here from the side of Orca, so they just do not want to deal with that against their Medusa. I think that's absolutely fair enough. Because if you really want to just get rid of all the mana burning heroes, you could also get rid of PL. Not really sure if they'd go down that route anyway, but you know, if you're worried about the mana burn as a POS 1, I suppose you could go down that route.
Yeah, I think PL does kind of play into YG's pacing fairly well. Like, you can get your win condition on that hero. The Kunkka LC can buy you space. And you don't necessarily need to farm as long as Sedusa in that matchup. You just really need to hit Diffusal plus maybe a Manta style for protection. You can kind of get going from there. I love the Leshrac ban, and you read it right, Mike. PL is banned, but the Lesh ban is big because Orca just needs something up front in mid that can take objectives. Like you were saying, a lack of push. It kind of goes for both sides. They need a way to siege on Orca early on to buy that Deuce's space. Lion, Tide, Bane don't really do that. Leshrac would have fixed those issues. No option for the Lina now as well. It's Orca did ban that out themselves, as Young PH did play a pretty good game. But they need something on mid to tie this all together, something that plays fast. They could try to fall back for the Puck. I think the Citrus Puck could work out here. It does give them some good team fight with a Ravage, with a Stone Gaze to kind of play with. Issue is, there might be a lack of damage early on, especially since you're playing up against Kunkka with a boat. The boat buff is going to ruin that, and YG take the TB themselves. Like, this tends to be what we say the actual VT Faded special. And they take it for themselves. Team Orca opted for the Medusa instead, leave it unbanned, and we've seen Terrorblade versus Medusa matchups. It's a very back and forth one in terms of timings, but it does feel like towards late game, the Terrorblade can make it work its way. Like, if you just get your positioning right, you have Sunder at the ready, you can kind of handle the Medusa and use the reflection back in a big way. Orca close out with the Quap, so that's the momentum coming in. Doesn't quite fix their sieging issue, but it does give them that early potential to fight from that mid. So they've got a tempo set around the mid that they can reliably collapse on, get an early rotation on top with Line and Bane, and look to bully out Young PH in the matchup.
Gonna be a rather interesting game 3 here. Again, Orca does look like the better team, just based on how we've seen them play. YG pretty close behind them, but I feel like they may have actually come out on top in terms of draft here. Like, I don't know, is the Medusa really going to be able to give him that much time to be able to farm up? Then again, is YG going to, bring Kish around to start pushing down these towers and start overtaking the jungle? A lot of questions to be asked. Looking very forward to seeing how this one pans out. And of course, for all the viewers out there, there is one more best of 3 after this to decide the last team to qualify. And one of these 2 teams will be in that last chance decider. So, again, even if you lose here, you've still got another chance. I believe you have to go against Army Geniuses in that last series. So, not the easiest team in the world to try and beat, but definitely not the hardest either. So, if you're a fan of either of these teams, they've still got one more chance afterwards. Don't you worry.
Yeah, definitely. They're not out of it yet. Both teams would rather go through, of course, at this point, not have to play another best of 3, because it is grueling having to play 2 series in a day. So we'll see who does get that wish granted as we go into this last game.
Prepare for battle.
Sorry, okay, I'm gonna quickly reconnect, Mike, because my mouse isn't showing into it.
All right, no worries, Jonathan. Still in beta, John. Just relax.
Okay.
I'm sure to get fixed up ASAP. I'm sure someone from Valve's listening here. YG. Ward's down already. Citrus gonna have his smoke broken. GY will have his own smoke broken as well. So Zorain in position to scout out what's going on here. Interestingly enough, there was no wards really placed by Orca. So they use the smoke, they don't get into any engagement, and no wards have been placed. I don't believe they scouted out any wards either. I mean, pings are still coming out towards YG, but at this point, Orca probably not going to feel too good about trying to force another fight. Level 1 as well, not really great for the side of Orca, I'd argue, unless you are able to catch someone off by themselves. See if they can get 3 bounty runes again. I believe YG last game around was able to get 3. This time, probably not. They aren't even fighting for the 3rd. They're just trying to secure 2.
The battle begins.
Looks like it is going to be a rather even start to the game this time around.
Yep. No excitement breaking out. I don't think either side really has a massive level 1 advantage. You could argue YG has a little bit better with multiple stuns, but you also have multiple stuns on Orca anyway. So we'll see the lanes break out here, Mike. AT on the LC, along with Skillay and Rubik. They will be up against Ponyo on that Bane, along with BT Faded on his signature Medusa. And this lane's a lot more passive for the side of Ragdoll. You could look to be aggressive, playing with the Nightmare, playing with the Brain Sap, and Mystic Snake damage, but there is some sustain out from the side of YG. They've got the press the attack to dispel as well. I think overall, your main objective here for Orca is just to farm. You just want VT Faded to build up. AT can try to slow it down, and I think if you will aim to slow down the Medusa here, you have to go Overwhelming Odds build. We'll see if Ponyo will allow that to happen, because he's just putting his body for it to cut off any sort of big cast to damage VT Faded early on.
Over in the mid lane, we've got Citrus there with Young PH. Citrus probably going to have a bit of a rougher time here in the co-op. I mean, we've seen Citrus play this Queen of Pain many, many times, and he does love the hero. In terms of hero matchup, though, I'm sure you'd agree that the Conquer does always seem to just have an advantage with that Tidebringer.
Yep. It doesn't really miss out. You've got a great way of threatening with the Torrent as well. I mean, Citrus could opt for the Shadow Strike build once more up against a melee hero. It does feel a lot better in comparison to most matchups. It still doesn't feel like it's going to be enough to get the same wave clear out. So I think you might be able to just go for the Scream of Pain priority, just get the damage off. But he does opt for it on level 2. So level 2 Shadow Strike just to trade better. Young PH is not going to be held back too much. Big advantage for the co-op is bottle refills are going to be easier with the Blink. Still, some action breaking up top, Mark.
That it is what they've got. It's going to be Zorain. GY able to secure first blood on the Tide. I suppose we can already kind of argue that the top lane isn't the easiest lane in the world for YG. And Kish, unless he has that metamorphosis, not going to feel very safe to farm here. And even with the meta, once it is on cooldown, bit of a rough time for YG, I'd argue.
Yeah, like every single time you don't have the metamorphosis up, you can't fight, and they do opt for the level 1 reflection as well, trying to get maybe some harassment back. We have seen that slow play big. You can be quite aggressive with a snapfire. And again, that's all boiling down to whether or not you see an opening with a metamorphosis, and you have to respect just the damage output, the control a line and Tide can give. GY is very tanky up front. He doesn't mind trading too much. And you're such a low HP hero on the Terrorblade that if they do commit with all the early magic damage, it doesn't take too long to melt the TV. So Zalrain's got to work extra hard to buy that space out. He did sacrifice his life, but Kish is getting good farms. I think overall, you're kind of fine with that. TV's not being slowed down at all. Level 2 metamorphosis still hasn't been popped. And that means there's always the threat of a turnaround here.
Kish. Moving on to GY. Zalrain, go on to Yif, but that does actually land the cookie. And they really take him down though. I mean, the meta is still there, but GY is just going to hold Kish back, and ultimately he's not going to be able to get as much damage as he would have liked. So a 1-0 lead here for Orca. Sure, in their minds, they are probably looking for a bit of a revenge after that game number 2. Bit of a sour feeling in their mouth, I'm sure. Every other lane though, pretty quiet right now. I mean, bot lane going pretty well for YG in a sense. You've got AT just playing Legion Commander. Obviously, he's not going to have too tough of a time, especially into Medusa Bane. But then again, you aren't able to really slow down Faded, right? VT Faded, no matter what, is going to be able to hit creeps in this lane, and chances are you can't stop it.
No, he's not hitting as fast as the Terrorblade is. Doesn't really matter too much as long as they're not too far behind and Medusa. Jungle opens up really well, and you can start clearing out quite fast there. So this is a very good situation for Orca right now down bot. And AT's not finding any aggressive openings. He does opt for overwhelming odds as the priority here, and that means it doesn't trade as well, but they are isolating Ponyo out at the very least, getting some damage off. Still a Bane, still relatively tanky as well, so no big kill ops. There is some commitment mid though for Young PH, but Yif can't really find the angle, and of course Young PH, when it comes down to it, will always have a TPX to fill up his bottle. So we are seeing the early rotations to bully out mid. Not going to stop a Kunkka, and that's just one of the strong points of the hero. If things go south, you clear out the small camp, you still have Bounty and you still have XTP, you're kind of fine in that lane.
Certainly so. There's GY. Being stalked right now by Kish and Zalrain, but as that Tide, he just feels confident to keep around and keep farming. So much so that Yif has already left and started just warding that mid lane again. They are going to try and apply some pressure to GY, but well, they can't really do too much about him. Not at the moment anyway. Young PH still playing around here with Citrus, and I mean, he's done a great job CSing, but Citrus is going to be able to take the kill on his own. Seeing that XTP, he knew he had just enough damage with the Sonic Wave. Does manage to take it, and well, Young PH was having a great time, but now he's 2 levels behind, believe it or not. In the meantime, Zalrain may just die to one more hit, but oh, he might be able to get away. No, nice Earth Spike out from Yif. Just able to kind of count on the fact that he was going to try and go for the deny on that large cap.
Yep, they've got a good ward to enable that sort of play as well. So heads up from Yif to find that opening. They're still keeping that aggression on mid. Citrus just feeling so strong. The max Shadow Strike build allowing him to dive deeper, to trade hits without worrying too much about the consequences. And it's forcing Skilly to show up early on mid. Level 3 on the Rubik compared to her Bane at 4. Freeing up the lane once more for VT Faded to keep farming. It's exactly what Orca wants, although Citrus might be punished here.
He may. There's going to be a boat to fly in. Citrus, can he survive through this? It's a lot of disable coming out. He does try, but the lift is there. Had just enough to ensure Citrus does die, and that'll allow Young PH the space to catch up in terms of that XP. So a 3-1 in favor of Orca. That is the first kill that YG got. Still, I mean, while all this is happening, you've got BT Fader just hitting creeps again on this Medusa, and now he's just completely uncontested. Of course, you do have a Terrorblade that's doing the exact same thing in the form of Kish. I'd still say the Medusa might just be a lot scarier.
It certainly is. Like, you get a running start in Medusa, sure, it still takes a while to hit your item spikes, but you're kind of securing for that timing. Ponyo does manage to find a good pick-off on skill A too.
And he does, and he'll take it. Citrus, second kill of the game for him on the Quap. PH still behind in terms of those levels. Trying to pick up those phase boots for himself. Very important for YG, obviously, to defend that mid-tier 1. We spoke about it in the draft, but it's probably even more important they take the opposing tier 1, but as the game's going right now, that might be a pretty big struggle. I guess Kish farming, though, pretty well might enable them to be able to go after that once he does feel like he can join the fray and get in for that mid-tier 1 tower with his team. We'll have to wait for that moment to happen first, as Ponyo is around, looking for a Nightmare setup perhaps onto Young PH, but you've got AT around as well. Young PH already dropping low, but a Sonic Wave is going to be thrown out. Still the boat is going to land onto 2 with the lift back onto Ponyo, and now the duel out. Great plays here from YG. It's great coordination. Unfortunately for Orca, they get punished for their greedy play.
I don't think they expected 4 heroes to be hanging around that triangle very early on, but that's what they get. They get punished hard. Great duel win coming out for AT, and kind of helps them get some momentum going as well for Young PH, who, as you mentioned, has been behind this game, still working towards that armlet now. Helps them bounce back quite a bit, and it's not like they're really punishing the Terrorblade for being solo. Their focus has been mainly on that mid from Orca, so Kish is still farming well. Number 1 in net worth, playing in the jungle, has his Falcon Blade up, Power Treads up, so he can just clear out these camps rather quick. I think that's a cause of concern for Orca. They have managed to really secure their own triangle though. Lots of stacks, there is a forward ward here from YG, so I think it's down to YG to find that opening to steal these stacks away. They've got to ensure that Medusa doesn't get that flash farm back, because we've seen VT faded on the Medusa before. If he starts rolling, he starts to roll really fast, and the rest of the team's ready to back him up.
Citrus again going to lose half his HP pool here on the Quap, but this time around is not going to be committed on. They are starting to set up for the top tier 1 tower, but you've only got GY and Yif around to really get this done. And while that's happening, you've got a big smoke up. Again, they're looking around for Citrus in this Quap. They really want to punish him, and they might just, if they can get the X off onto the Quap. Citrus, he hasn't realized it, he does too late. They'll take his creeps and his life by the looks of it, as the cookie does land perfectly from Zorain. Another kill onto the Queen. I think it's just a fantastic job from YG so far, considering how far ahead Citrus was. Young PH finally able to overtake in terms of those levels.
Steal away the Ancients, they find that kill with AT down bot, with Kish providing the support to clear out that tier 1. And that's exactly the move YG needs to do with that ward up. They're clearing out the farm away from VT Faded, they're finding the punishment on Citrus, and they need that Quap to really carry momentum through. Not even a Kaya up yet, so you're really starting to lag behind, and Young PH has recovered well enough. Kish as well, he's about to hit that early Yasha time. Sure, you don't have the rest of your stats to pad you out, but his damage output just shoots through the roof with that up. So you can't even just safely go for a gank on the TB. If he has Metamorphosis, he will have to fight back.
Top lane GY is still very confident with his position.
Gold for my
4-5, still a pretty quiet game here between these two. Notice throughout the series, neither side really enjoys going aggressive too early on. They prefer to wait for that mid-game timing. But it's not too surprising when you've got a Medusa vs TB style of draft. To be expected that they just want to hit the jungle for a while. Young PH, I suppose, could get very aggressive still. You know, with the armlet up, just plenty of damage to throw out. Just might wait for those skills to be off cooldown here for Zorain, and was naturally skill A to boot. AT though. Radiant jungle he's in as the Fiend's Rip is going to catch him out, so Ponyo, with no hesitation, to just pick up the LC kill if they can get it. And of course, VT Faded himself will take it on the Medusa. That's a pretty nice pickup here for the side of Orca. Surprising though that the LC was even around this area.
Yeah, he's playing really far forward. I think just keeping track of that bot jungle by himself. He is also getting some forward space out for Kish. He's playing relatively close, so I think that does give Kish some room to breathe on the forward part of that bot jungle. But it's not a kill you want to give away for free. Like, that is the catch-up coming through for VT Faded. He's actually #1 in net for it, so the flash farm of the Medusa is still kicking in. Yasha's up as well in this hero. And even though the stacks were taken, stacks can be rebuilt. VT Faded, it's a double stack on the Ancients to build off of. And Orca are keeping this game really even. 5-5, 1k network lead for YG. It certainly feels like they've hit their early timing spike. But I think they need to wait out for this blink on AT. Not too far off. Once they have that blink initiation with the duel, it should become a lot easier to run their draft in the hit and run style that they want to do with this kind of lineup.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
There's a smoke out. 3-man again with Young PH and both supports.
Dire are scanning.
They've got to know GY's around, but they may assume they might run into a Medusa. If will be around to try and help break the smoke and does do so, so Young PH will make the jump in with the X out. Yif trying to avoid the duel on the torrent, but has no choice in the matter. It does allow GY to get out, so it's the price you have to pay as a support. Just tank the gank. Bit unfortunate that you are guaranteed to give duel damage to AT, but that's just part of the game. So they might find an even better target though, Kish. This won't be great for YG if they do lose this Terrorblade, but Ponyo, oh never mind, they just blink right in. No hesitation, pop the Ravage, get the Pos 1. That's a much better trade here for Orca.
Yeah, they're keeping down that Terrorblade. You are still getting some good progression out from Kish, but he was playing that forward jungle for a long time, and they've already, kind of figured out that he was playing in that area. Now there's an opportunity to push mid without the threat of Metamorphosis fight back. No Ravage on GY will maybe give some confidence towards YG, as they still have the boat. We've got to find a really good angle. Blink is up on AT. That Blink dual initiation is there to cut them off, and just their presence alone does manage to keep them away from fully committing for that tier 1. So YG get to hold on to the objective. They still get to get some farm going on Orca though in that jungle. And that's where YG's cut off, but they will smoke up with that blink up on the LC.
They will. Duel very low cooldowns. It's not too hard to just keep going. Ponyo going to be there to break the smoke, but that'll be another duel to surely go the way of ATs. He does just pop it immediately and they'll have plenty of damage. Can you capitalize off that? Probably not. Too early to probably go for a Roshan or try to push in a tower. No creep wave around either in that mid lane to really try for the mid tier 1. Still a nice kill, I suppose, and just a bit more damage here onto the LC. Oh, you might even find Yif here top lane, but Young PH, he just kind of gives up on it.
Close. If he had just cut a little bit of a tree, I think he might have gotten vision for the X, but misses out on that. Not the biggest kill to miss out on. I think the side of YG and Orca are actually both fairly satisfied. Both of their cores are farming. It is better off for Orca, considering that Faded is getting a lot more from his time in the jungle, from his time in the lanes, in comparison to Kish, but Kish hits an earlier timing spike. Right, like Manta up, fast Scotty, you're kind of set to go in the TV. Metamorphosis gives you a huge steroid to start hitting hard. Whereas the Medusa still needs further itemization beyond just the Scotty. You might need a Butterfly, you might need the Daedalus, you might need the Ags even. Damn, and go again.
Very, very aggressive, but you love adding up all this damage here onto AT. Already 40 plus damage. Just keeps going, 6 to 8 now for YG. It seems like Orca's happy with this though. Again, if VT Fade is just hitting creeps, he's just doing what Medusa does. So is the TB. Very slow kind of matchup, which is favorable for both drafts. Just a matter of who's more confident in the late game. Still could go either way though. We've seen plenty of Medusa versus TB matchups. Could be a big smoke though. Orca. They'll smoke, but it's going to be into the brand new BKB of Young PH. It could be some pretty unfortunate timing, depending on who they catch first. Kish, oh, they found the big target. Ravage is going to be thrown out. The Sonic Wave, they've blown him up. Fiend's Grip is also there, right onto AT, but it's going to be cancelled immediately as now they keep going for the fight. With the Stone Gaze, they should be able to secure the LC kill. AT, he's trying to make it as hard as possible as the boat's going to fly in, but it's not there in time. Still a 3-man stun out from Young PH as he gets Yif. Onto Ponyo he goes, but VT faded. He'll try it onto Skill Lay. They'll get the Rubik down as Young PH, he's popped the BKB. They've got no way to really lock him down anyway. They've already committed the Ravage. So he can maybe find another kill for himself onto GY. He's going to try and do so. If he does land, another Tidebringer hit. BT trying to help out. In fact, Citrus does jump back in, and GY has actually survived throughout all this as Young PH is now relying on just Armlet toggling his way out of the situation. GY even coming back in for the Gush, and that's going to be a fair bit of gold going back to BT faded, but they will lose Citrus from the Quap. BT, he's going to be just fine though. AT could not get the duel off on time. So a very back and forth team fight, but it heavily favors Team Orca.
Yeah, by a huge amount. You managed to get this early aggression on the Medusa to pay off. A very big team fight to take, forcing that early charge on the BKB as well. Kish is down by about 2 levels in comparison to Medusa. They should be able to find his mid-tier 1, which will allow them to invade that jungle a lot more often, and especially that triangle area. But this is not quite the position YG wants to be in. Still, they maintain a 2k lead despite that sort of back and forth trade, and it's now Orca that's going to have to keep stalling out. Like, yeah, your Medusa is strong, your Medusa has farm. TB with Metamorphosis is still a lot scarier at this point in the game with the same items up. And you aren't that far ahead on Faded. 2,000 gold is nice. It's really just a component of the Scotty you're ahead on. So the timings are still not too bad here for YG. I think for Orca now, they need to be able to just group around the next Ravage. GY has it in about half a minute. Just look to keep forcing and look to punish some forward heroes here like Young PH.
They found the Kunkka. It appears we're dropping a lot of frames right now, John, so I'm going to have to get that looked into. Slightly annoying, considering we're mid-game right now. This series has not been kind to us whatsoever. But I'll try and resolve that issue, John. You go ahead and keep analyzing while I try to sort out these frames dropping.
All right. So 10 to 11, 19 and a half minutes in. 2k lead still stands for YG. Key thing is, even though they were losing a couple of fights, Kish isn't falling too far behind Medusa. 2,000 gold. Again, that's basically a Scotty component. You might have it maybe 2 minutes earlier, but you need to be able to have like a major item on top as a Medusa. They're still trying to get that mid-tier 1 as well. And it's slow going. Faded is there. They do have the Fortify, so the Deny is going to be coming in. The Deny attempt at release, and it looks like they are lined up for it quite nicely here on the side of YG. We managed to clear it. And Zarya and TPs are still coming in. AT does show up. Blink Duel still ready, but they don't really have the forward info here to kind of punish, and their angles are all kind of covered here on Orca's end. They get the Deny forced out, play it safe. Again, for Orca, it's a patience game. You gotta wait for Fade to be big, you gotta wait for these big items to flow out in Medusa. Down the line, I think an Ags would be really helpful, just to get that Petrify on Mystic Snake. Really annoying for a TB to deal with, especially since the BKB is a third, fourth item pickup on the TB anyway. So you're gonna have a major window if you manage to flash farm that Ags, but considering the pacing Faded has, it's not that big of a difference. Young PH working towards a halberd, major counter to the Medusa. If the right clicks can't come out, that investment falls flat. Does have to be careful though, as the heroes are clumping around here from Orca. Blink out from Yef, X out from Young PH. Mike's back.
I mean, I'm still here, John. I just haven't resolved the issue yet. Young PH, he's going to get Fiend's Gripped up, but the press the attack is going to save. Ponyo is going to end up dropping, but the Ravage is there. Still quick BKB out from Young PH, but they'll try and go onto the LC. They've got AT down, but can they find more? The Stone Gaze not petrifying anyone else, but Young PH, he turned around for the creep wave. That may cost him, but Skill A, he's got the Fiend's Grip onto Citrus now. They've got that Quap, but they've lost the Rubik. The Fiend's Grip will be null, as Young PH is still trying to fight the Quap, but it may cost him, again, his own life, even though he's quite tanky. GY's found him. Do they have a way to cancel the TP? No! Ooh. No, they do not. Yif was not within range for the Hex.
Oh, that's really unfortunate for the side of Orca, but they still went out a very big trade. They did pop a couple of big spells, No Stone Gaze, no Ravage. They only find really the offlane and support. So not the biggest win in the world for them, but it still provides them an opportunity. VT Faded starting to do a lot of damage up front. Has the Scotty straight into the MKB next. He just wants more damage, wants to be able to pierce through the evasion talent that is up for Kish. And kind of deal with the Heaven's Halberd invasion as well to ensure that they can get the hits off onto Young PH. So Orca reeling it back a bit. 12 to 12, 1k lead still stands for YG. Again, not too much for either side to call an advantage just yet, but it does feel like the momentum is building up for for Orca, and for them, they've managed to do a great job of playing around GY. It's basically just waiting for Ravage every single time, and his Ravage is only a minute off. They see Young PH up top.
Good news is it looks like the frame drops have finally stopped, so that's good news. Apologies about all that, ladies and gentlemen. No idea what's happening, but we're good now. Pretty rough series, Jonathan. I mean, everything's just gone wrong this series, hasn't it?
Yep,
absolutely everything. Yeah.
You know, the first YG gets a power outage.
Oh, there
and then
goes
you'll
the
bring in
frames.
internet issues.
No, it's broken again. Never mind. The frame drops are coming back. Oh, god damn
Dire's
internet.
middle tower.
Yeah,
I can talk forever. Oh,
Yeah.
they catch a line out.
they do. It's gonna. You may as well keep talking. I mean, it's probably unwatchable right now, John. So it's I'll keep trying.
It's gonna be unlistenable as well, Mike, with me talking, but I'll do my best.
Under attack.
Smoke out from YG.
Radiant's
Gonna be
bottom
looking for
tower
flank.
is
They get a
under
good
attack.
dual win. 60 damage on our LCL already. Kish
Radiant
showing up for the bot tier
structures
2 push.
are fortified.
They're trying to shove in top, but
Dire's
VT
top
Faded
tower
doesn't do
is
enough
under
damage
attack.
by himself to
Radiant's
get
bottom
nearly
tower
as much
is under
damage
attack.
in onto that tier 2. So the tower trade's gonna be a lot slower. It's going to give YG a big advantage as they're in a smoke position. They can wrap around behind, force a fight, try to catch him off guard. Orca will take the tower in the end. So YG doesn't opt to really rush their way there. This will open up Roshan for Orca with the outpost control. And they do have Ravage to defend that position in the Rosh. So they can look to go into the Rosh, maybe force something out, likely wanting to force a fight outside first. Big issue to take care of is likely the Kunkka. They need to ensure Young PH is not going to run in with a boat, turn things around, and they will go for a smoke here on Orca, wrapping around into their own triangle, drawing lines to the top lane though. It's a longer route and no one's there.
Dire's
YG
top
have
tower
just
is under
shown
attack.
themselves in mid, really. Just playing around here, buying time for Kish to farm up. You'd be happy to know Mike double damage was on Kish, but not in the position for the Rush themselves. Working towards that fast BKB. So you are getting protection out for the TV. And that does mean the Ravage is not going to work as much. The Lion Hex, the Earth Spike, really down to just the grip there. Smoke fades from Ragdoll, from Orca. And YG is still in a pretty good position to actually look to fight on the mid. Taking the high ground position on the jungle. Getting farm up. They have the Blink Duel. They have the boat ready to go. It looks like both sides are just going to calm down and keep farming up. Taking control of the triangle here on Orca. Still getting the build up on VT Faded. MKB only one part away. Not too much gold left. About 1.2k left to farm up.
Dire are
Which should
scanning.
give them enough to play with. Scan onto the Roche might bait the side of YG in. They aren't actually in the pit though. They're just walking in the area. And they are still responding in that general direction. No one's in the pit. And this could be a pretty tricky position if someone gets punished here. But with the X play, Young PH is going to be able to scout just safely. And another weird movement out to wrap around here. Look first to fight though. But it does slow down. GY does manage to blink out in time. And they calm down. While all that happens, you'd think that the Medusa would be farming faster, but YG's just widening their gold lead.
Dire's top tower
3k up
is
now.
under attack.
Still in a position around Roche here for Orca. UPH just immediately Xing him back, not really getting the full scouting out. I think Orca will just take this position around the top jungle. They've got control over the outpost. They don't have the vision right now. Compared to YG, they've got a lot of good forward wards in bot jungle. They've got a ramp ward watching Roshan. YG, Orca's pretty blind. They only have a laning ward on the mid lane.
Dire's
Nothing
top
else.
tower is
So
under
they don't
attack.
have the clearest info as to
Radiant's
where
middle tower is under
YG
attack.
is exactly, and that's making it hard for them to do really anything. They are shoving in top lane, but sooner or later, this trading game is just not working out for them. Like,
Radiant's
all the
bottom tower
space
is under
that
attack.
Kish has, he's not sharing with anyone else. It's all confined for him, although they do manage to catch one out. Ponyo gets lifted back. Not the biggest target to take, and they don't force the issue too much. Brain Sap is taken out
Dire's
by
top
our
tower
Rubik,
is under attack.
and they take control of that
Radiant's
triangle
courier
now.
has
Sniping
been
good
killed.
courier as well on VT Faded. It
Radiant's
did
courier
deliver the
has been
MKB, so VT Faded at least has his item up, but he won't be able to get the parts for his butterfly in the next 2 minutes or so.
Radiant's
So
middle tower
going
is
to be
under attack.
held back from additional agi on the attacks. And again, YG and Orca playing this really safe, but the game of attrition is still favoring YG because look at that bottom part of the map, Mike. Like, that triangle's free entirely just for Kish. The bot jungle's entirely free for Kish.
Fit for a
Orca are still
queen.
constantly forced to move as 5. They'll go for another smoke. They've got to find something. This is a lot of time. They're bleeding gold out. Could be in good position to catch out AT. AT's hiding in the tree line quite nicely to break a smoke. Does manage to break it. Rain? So Rain can get caught out first. Ravage being held by GY. Do manage to kill off the snap first. They are looking for more punishment out, but the rest of YG does manage to bail. So the smoke play does lead to a kill. It's not the big kill you want, and now Kish has a BKB. They do kill off AT in the back. Manage to punish it off that Legion commander at the least. It should put a dent into YG taking this fight 3v5.
Radiant's bottom tower
But you
is
still are in a
under
really
attack.
good position on this TD. Yeah, 2k behind. The lead has not grown for VT Faded. They will force Roshan here on the side of Orca. Ravage up, Stone Gaze up, everything but Finger ready to go. This could be a really strong fight for them to take. No threat of kisses. There is the boat. MPH is still a bit too far. They had wards though. They must have seen someone slipping around the backside of Roshan, but a bit too late in movement. And that is the first Rosh going the way of Orca. So 2 lives up now on VT Faded to take that front line. Luce, again, probably one of the best heroes with at Aegis because you make such good use of a fresh mana pool, even without your spells up. And that is going to make it a lot harder for YG to rip through. But they've got the AC up on Young PH. So there's a little bit more durability up against the physical output of Ardusa. VT Faded opting now to go for the Daedalus instead of the Butterfly. YG, with all the heroes up, are actually looking to move forward. They've got a ward. They know where VT Faded is. This is risky. X out. Both immediately thrown out, and they want to take care of that first life. Stuns, giving control onto VT Faded. Ravage from GI, just waiting to fly out. Sonic Wave as well. VT Faded, first life gone. Patience from GY to wait for that Ravage. Kiss is coming in to just lock in that Busa, but the Stone Gaze does fly through. They're forced to turn around. Nice Hex out onto AT before a duel can come out. Earth Spike as well. Gonna be able to find the LC Cookie for it along with a press the attack. Does keep AT alive for now as the fight breaks out and back. Kish looking to burn down GY. He still hasn't thrown Ravage. He's not going to find that opportunity. Grip out onto the TV. Does keep him back for now, but Nice is under out onto the Quap. Does keep Kish alive. Man fight between VT Fate. Nice Earth Spike out. Finger out as well, but immediate stun back. Citrus just gets burst down by Skill Ace, stilling that Earth Spike as they do force 2 buybacks out. VT Faded still alive in the front. No mana though. PH just wanting an out, does get caught out by Citrus looking forward. Nice stolen Earth Spike, focusing in onto VT Faded, can't clean up that life. Sacrifices are being made as Citrus still goes forward, trying to find Zarain, trying to find Skill A. Stolen Earth Spike, still doing work from Skill A. Holds back the offensive. Kish really low, no Sunder. Is just gonna run as they give away Zarain as well, and Orca finding some trades. No, Kish! He gets caught out still. Citrus just blinking away. Almost finding that kill into TV. Would have been massive if they found a punishment. Real back and forth. Does favor YG in the end. Not counting the Deuce kill 3 for 3, but 2 buybacks out from Ragdoll. Makes that a hard sell, and Kish does live. They sacrifice Young PH, they sacrifice the supports, they sacrifice the offlaner. They still keep their TV alive. But the net worth gap between the TV and the Deuce is starting to grow. So VT Faded from those kills, accelerating into the Daedalus here. 1 part away, just the Demon Edge missing into the Butterfly next. His damage output's getting really big, and we're not seeing the same damage output coming out from Kish. With a BKB pickup, he's safe to stand front, but they can't burst down the Dusa. They deal with 1 life, they can't deal with 2. The Aegis did a ton of work there for Orca to kind of turn things around. Push onto that mid-tier 2 now. YG looking to defend. They've got the Blink Duel, but they need to follow through damage. They need the control out from the Kunkka, and Young PH's respawn is still building up. Fortify will buy some time. Immediate TP forward. Lift. BT Faded being held back. X. Torrent does land. X not being used. Boat is ready. Tower will fall. They get the X off anyway. Boat commit. Can they kill off BT Faded? Does have the Stone Gaze. That forces them to turn around once more. Can't get the damage off in that control period, and they just get to retreat. Double damage as well here for BT Faded. Hello, Mike.
Well, it seems to have stabilized for now, so that's good news, John. Thank you for that. I'll try and... I'm sure you're dying right now, so I'll take over. YG. We'll go for a 5-man smoke. They find the opening, though. It's into the high ground of the dire jungle, so it's not the easiest opening here. Young PH will take a courier, but that's going to reveal the position of YG. We'll know the Conquer is not alone. Still wrapping around. They are desperate to try and force this fight, it seems. Ponyo, no, BT Faded. They have found that primary target, but it's going to take a long time to burst down that Medusa. So ignore her and instead try to find somebody else. That somebody else is not really around quite yet. Keep in mind, they've got to watch out for that Ravage, which is going to jump right in from GY. They've blown up Kish immediately with the finger, and they're onto the LC now. AT, he's just gone. Fisher, I mean, they did steal the Ravage. That's about all they got, though. It doesn't amount to much, and suddenly BT Faded with 5 kills. Going to move on to that high ground with a double damage rune. And Orca, looking very good now, Jonathan, onto the high ground.
Yeah, they're in a great position to push. Well-timed fight for Orca. They had double damage on BT Faded. Really strange wraparound. Orca was dragged all the way back. Their backs were against the dire base, but they still make it work their way, and now the high ground's open. Going for the racks. Creep wave still ways off, so backdoor's making this a bit slower, but they do get the melee racks in the end, and they're not going to overextend, as YG's respawns aren't too long. But they are making it work now on Orca and YG. They got caught surprised. You know, they were in a good position there for Orca to get that big Ravage from GY, preventing that BKB on the TB. You can't afford to run up like that if you are Kish. Like, he wants to be able to do some damage, but you can't afford to cop all the spells. The magical burst from a Lion there, Mike, is just way too much to handle without the BKB going on.
Oh, absolutely. So a very close game between these two teams. 85% win probability of the way of Orca. So the Medusa just proving to be a bit too hard of a carry here for Dota Plus, but we'll see how that carries through. And the game is certainly not over for YG yet. It's Young PH now. Show up. That triangle, but it's only going to find some Medusa illusions. They are still looking around, trying to find another target. They've got GY at that top lane, but he's not showing right now, so they've got no idea where he is. So they'll go after that tier 1 top tower. Meantime, Orca just sticking as a team, just trying to farm up that butterfly for BT Faded. At least he's going for something like a BKB first, and he is. So BKB coming up from the Medusa. I mean, it might be time to smoke up again here if you're Orca.
Yeah, major power spike for Medusa, gonna be harder to pin down. Only thing that will pierce through that is really dual. And I don't know if you really want to make the Medusa your primary dual target, but the Stone Gaze threat always there. Side of Orca will just go for a tier 1 push down bot. YG kind of shoving in the top lane to try to force a response out and stall this game out further. But the network lead has evened out 20-17, 1k lead up for Orca at this point, and that's them playing from a deficit of around 5 to 7k. So they managed to reel things back their way from YG, and it's at this point where the Medusa versus TV matchup is just a lot scarier. It's all based on, can you get Metamorphosis off in these fights? Can you get your BKB off? Because the jump of Orca to ensure that on TV, we've seen it before. They just need a Blink Hex, Blink Ravage to be committed on just that one hero, and this fight will go Orca's way. VT Faded is, okay, stuck. He had spider legs. Yeah, he's going to pick up the DD. And we'll see Roche fairly soon, Mike. So tradition could be kept. If it's a fast respawn, this is going to look good for Orca.
Oh, absolutely. They can find Young PH, who runs right into a Sentry Ward. Oh no. No buyback available for Young PH. That's very problematic now, as if you're Orca, you're going high ground immediately. There's no doubt about it. They'll find out the easy way that there's no Kunkka to buy back.
Radiant's top tower
Yeah.
is under
On
attack.
the side of YG, all they can do now is to hope to push in the bot to force a response. And with a TV, you can push quite fast, but they're not going to be able to match the space. One Rax completely clean from mid, top going next. And do send back to Rubik to at least get some Spade Vault spams in. And Q3 does fall, but they're forced to pull back now. And VT Faded can just stay here and hit. Fortify already popped early. TP's coming in to try to punish, but it's too late. And without the Kunkka, that entire prospect is just not really met. Roche respawn is fairly short as well, Mike. 10 seconds away. You're in a good position for Orca to just take that. Like, yeah, Kunkka's going to be respawning soon. You still have Ravage. You still have Finger. You can still deal with a fight in the pit, and GY's at the perfect time to spot it. They're just going to go for it. They've got the outpost as well, though.
There you go. Orca. More than happy with this Aegis and Charms up. No contest here from YG. We're just lacking way too much. Get the Aegis over to VT Faded, but the shards he already has, so we'll see who he does throw that over to. Citrus has his own as well. They never want to give it over to the poor supports. Because everyone has one except Ponyo and our Thai GY, so it's a matter of, do you want the Anchor Smash effects buildings, or do you want the AoE Brain Sap? Neither of which sounds amazing.
I like the Anchor Smash a bit more. It just makes sieging a lot better and helps your damage out as well on the Anchor Smash. Up by 90 is not a small thing with a minus armor you can get from your Gush. So I think there's value there on Titan. They do pass it out. There you go. Easier siege now for GY. He's even got the Ninja Gear to get in good position for the Ravage and has a refresh up, Mike. The double Ravage in play here. YG's got to be very careful in this defense.
I'm gonna try and chip away at VT Faded. VT has those double lives, but the Ravage is there. GY, great initiation, Kish! He does get taken out. Now a double Ravage thrown out. Young PH is still fighting, and there's your buyback out from our Terrorblade. They can't even kill off Citrus, though. The Nightmare Dodge is gonna allow him to get out of there just fine. Poor old Kish. I mean, he's brought back, but he's still got about 10 seconds for the meta to be up. And I think for Orca, that's more than enough. They've still got plenty of time to play with for that Aegis. So they'll wait out maybe the Ravage again and come back later on.
No rush here. They already forced the major buyback they needed to from Kish. And this puts YG in a very precarious situation. They can't afford to lose their Terrorblade. We saw what happened when Young PH didn't have buyback. They pretty much lost a set of racks. If they lose a TB now, the team fight's just over. They will go for a smoke play though. Very risky, but I think they feel the pressure to make something happen with that buyback.
They're gonna try. Yif, I mean, they might find him, but no, they get the lift off onto the Deucer, but VT Faded. He's still on the low ground, and in fact, Finger has been committed onto AT. Young PH still trying to secure Yif's life here on that Lion. They'll land the boat, they'll have Chish there with the Metamorphosis, and that'll be one. Nice little start here for YG, but can they find more without losing any bodies themselves? Citrus trying to find a way out of this blink. He does make it out just fine. GY sticking right by just in case he needs it. Citrus still playing with fire. It's AT looking for a duel out, but the Invis, they've got no detections. They're not going to see him. And now VT Faded with the Stone Gaze looking to turn it right back around. And he's got the Petrify onto two heroes. That'll be a tieback onto the TB. Skillay gets tipped immediately. They'll even find Zorain. It's a great initiation back in from VT Faded. And now poor old Skillay is going to drop. And you can try to defend now. At best, you're going to get a 4v5 scenario. And that's without your Terrorblade.
It's a risky spot. I don't think YG wants to force that. They can't get Mega Creeps anyway. They do still have the tier 2 standing bot, but if they do force the issue onto the tier 4s, that could force the buybacks. Creep Wave is not shoved in the favor of Orca though. They're going to have to work to repair that, and that is going to buy some key time for YG to get their respawns in order. VT Faded still whacking away at that top set of racks though. Not really minding that too much, and Creep Wave should be close enough soon to get that damage going. So YG gonna be down another set of racks. Again, still protected from the Megas. Now you've got a butterfly flying in for VT Fade, and he's just going to look to end. Still ages for a minute. Not much worry here for the Dusa.
Certainly not, John. Certainly not. Nightmare.
Dire's middle tower is
Gonna
under
be there in
attack.
time to not allow the X back as VT Faded just after those T4 towers. Knowing the opening they have without this Terrorblade alive, Citrus still holding back Young PH, not allowing him to chip away at this Dusa, but VT Faded gonna cop the full Mortimer's kisses. He won't mind too much though, he still has the Aegis up. They'll even throw the boat out onto VT Faded, but he is still standing, still surviving, but not for long surely though. No, a nice night mode dodge from Ponyo. VT, he'll survive a little bit longer, but does finally go down once as Citrus, he gets skill lay in the base. There is a TB coming though in 4 seconds. You've got the Terrorblade back up. Ponyo is gonna die. Young PH dropping low himself in the Kunkka. He's gone, but he's got buyback to boot. He'll jump back in, but there goes AT on the Legion Commander. He's also got buyback available. Now the Ravage. GY's in. A 3-man, a double Ravage out. They're just gonna completely clean up. There's a stolen Ravage by Skillay, but there's just no follow-up. A full Rampage out to BT Faded and Orca. They should be able to do it. Just finish it out and qualify to the BTS Pro Series Season 10, and it looks like they've got it. What a weird series it was, John. What a strange series we had to just go through. But Orca, they've managed to make it through.
They make it work in the end. Go back to this VT Faded Dusa that we know almost always works out for the side of Orca. YG, they go back to the Kish TB. They tried to make it work. They found some good openings. There were some really good duels coming out from AT and some good movement out from Young PH, but just not enough to stem the tide. Like for a while, they did have a net worth advantage, but they just kind of got caught off guard. They take a couple of bad fights. It snowballs from there for Orca, and they just make it work. Even with a stand-in, Ponyo did some amazing work stepping up for Minyo Ping, and they make it through. So Orca are qualified in. YG aren't out yet, as you've mentioned, Mike. They will have to play against Army Geniuses, and this is where the nail-biter begins, because they're playing back-to-back series. AG, they've had time to refresh. They've had time to see the series. So in a way, they have a bit of a small advantage going in, and we'll see if that plays into it for YG here.
Yeah, and again, apologies about all the frame drops we were having earlier. We seems to have resolved the issue, which is good. Hopefully it won't affect us in our third series of the night, John. We'll have to wait and see. We are going to head to a short break, and right after that break, we'll be back with our third Decider series between Army Geniuses and Yangon Galacticos.